Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Choda and welcome to this important episode of Ignition Time where I talk to you about the 7 big indicators about the second stimulus check, about future stimulus and about the future of unemployment benefits in the country. There were some big takeaways from a short interview that US Secretary Treasury Stephen Mnuchin did in the Oval Office sitting right next to the president, but he revealed so much information in what was essentially a 2-minute clip that I had to take a closer look at it and break it down for my viewers. I've said this before on my channel, sometimes the biggest piece of news comes out in these short clips that the major news media tends to miss, or maybe they just believe in controversy and hyperbole and that's what gives them ratings. But for me, I listen very closely to what people have to say, and one of the reasons I've been able to be successful is I've been able to listen and read between the lines, and that's exactly what I'm going to do over here. So let's listen to the words of the US Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin right now.
Mark and I have been working very hard over the last 2 weeks with Mitch and Kevin on really what we see as the focus is kids and jobs. The Recovery Act, CARES 4.0. We've spent an unprecedented amount of money. The good news is a lot of the $3 trillion we still have left to put in the economy and put back to work. We're focused on starting with another $1 trillion. We think that will make a big impact. And the focus is, as I said, is really about kids and jobs and vaccines. We're going to make sure that we have a vaccine by the end of the year for emergency use. And the plan is we just updated the president and the vice president. They signed off on this. Mark and I will be meeting tomorrow with the Republicans at the lunch to give them a full briefing, and then we will also be reaching out to the Democrats to begin our discussions. But we are committed that by the end of this month, make sure that before the enhanced unemployment insurance expires, that we pass legislation so that we can protect Americans that are unemployed. Now, we've said the number one issue is we have to fix the technical fix on enhanced unemployment. We're going to make sure that we don't pay people more money to stay home than go to work. We want to make sure that people who can go to work safely can do so. We'll have tax credits that incentivize businesses to bring people back to work. We'll have tax credits for PP&E, for safe work environment, and we're going to have big incentives, money to the states for education, for schools that can open safely and do education. So these are the priorities, as well as liability protection. We want to make sure that frivolous lawsuits don't prevent schools, universities, and businesses from reopening.
So there you have it. That was a very interesting set of comments, and I think there's a lot of information that was revealed in that short little segment. I actually dissected those comments, and I believe there are 7 key takeaways that we need to pay attention to. Let's start with takeaway 1, indicator 1, which is at least $1 trillion or more in stimulus. Let's listen.
CARES 4.0. We've spent an unprecedented amount of money. The good news is a lot of the $3 trillion we still have left to put in the economy and put back to work. We're focused on starting with another $1 trillion. We think that will make a big impact.
By the way, I announced back on the 15th of May, if you go back to my channel and if you look at my video on the 15th of May where I said, here's why another $1 trillion stimulus package is coming. I predicted this more than 2 months ago. So just to let my viewers and subscribers know that I saw this coming because this was a necessity even back then. So the 2 things that jumped out at me from the first segment, from the first indicator was, one was the focus is kids and jobs, which is good, which is what the focus should be. And then he said, and it's almost like he said this in a matter of fact way, he said, we are focused on starting with another $1 trillion. His words, we're focused on starting with another $1 trillion.
We're focused on starting with another $1 trillion.
Notice the use of the words focused on starting with. He knows that the Democrats will want more, so there'll probably be some sort of a negotiation back and forth. And so if the opening bid, the opening salvo of the Republicans is $1 trillion, you can bet the Democrats will come back and say, $3 trillion going once, $3 trillion going twice, and they'll settle somewhere. So we can see that there's going to be another $1 trillion stimulus package or more, and that is the first big indicator. Now let's proceed to the second big indicator, which is kids and jobs and vaccines. Let's listen.
The focus is, as I said, is really about kids and jobs and vaccines. We're going to make sure that we have a vaccine by the end of the year for emergency use. And the plan is we just updated the president and the vice president. They signed off on this. Mark and I will be meeting tomorrow with the Republicans at the lunch to give them a full briefing, and then we will also be reaching out to the Democrats to begin our discussions.
So now this is big. If you pay attention to the words, his words were, and the focus is, as I said, is really about kids and jobs and vaccines. And he said something else that was super interesting. We're going to make sure that we have a vaccine by the end of the year for emergency use. Super interesting, huh? What else do we have at the end of the year? You know what we have? And then another thing he said was, and we will also be reaching out to Democrats to begin our discussion. So there is an element of bipartisanship here, which is necessary because the Democrats can't get anything done with the Republicans and vice versa. Now let's move on to the third indicator, the third segment, which is extremely important, the extension of enhanced unemployment. Let's listen to what Mnuchin had to say.
We are committed that by the end of this month, make sure that before the enhanced unemployment insurance expires, that we pass legislation so that we can protect Americans that are unemployed.
I think this was a telling sign that there's going to be some sort of an extension of unemployment benefits. Is it going to be $600? It doesn't seem like it based on other videos I've done, but he specifically said, we are committed that by the end of this month, make sure that before the enhanced unemployment insurance expires, he's referring to the $600 a week FPUC booster that's scheduled to end at the end of this month, that we pass legislation so that we can protect Americans that are unemployed. So that's a clear indication that they want it to continue in one way, shape or form. Now let's look at the fourth indicator, a cap on enhanced unemployment benefits and safety. So let's listen to exactly what Stephen Mnuchin said.
Now, we've said the number one issue is we have to fix the technical fix on enhanced unemployment. We're going to make sure that we don't pay people more money to stay home than go to work. We want to make sure that people who can go to work safely can do so.
Now, this is an important line. We're going to make sure that we don't pay people more money to stay home than go to work. We want to make sure that people who can go to work safely can do so. And this is a good comment because individuals who can go back to work safely should go back to work as long as they have jobs and as long as they offer their jobs back. Now, this is encouraging because individuals who can go back to work, who are offered their jobs back and who can go back to work safely should indeed go back to work because that's how the economy recovers. Now, let's take a look at the fifth indicator, tax credits to get back to work, plus an added emphasis on safety. Let's listen to what Mnuchin had to say.
We'll have tax credits that incentivize businesses to bring people back to work. We'll have tax credits for PP&E, for safe work environment.
So he said we'll have tax credits that incentivize businesses to bring people back to work. We'll have tax credits for PPE, which is personal protective equipment, for safe work environment. This is encouraging. And just so that my viewers and subscribers know, many congressmen, many senators have emphasized PPE. I'll give you a few examples. Congressman Antonio Delgado from New York announced his support for a tax credit of up to $25,000 for the purchase of personal protective equipment for small businesses, self-employed or more. In other words, individuals, business owners would be encouraged to get personal protective equipment, making their work environment safer for employees so that employees feel much more safe coming back to work. These are all steps in the right direction. I'll give you a few more examples. Congresswoman Jackie Walorski from Indiana supports the Strengthening America's Strategic National Stockpile Act, which would boost domestic manufacturing of critical medical supplies. Senator Thom Tillis, Republican from North Carolina, along with several others, have introduced bipartisan legislation to rebuild the Strategic National Stockpile and strengthen domestic PPE, that's personal protective equipment manufacturing, to ensure that the United States is better prepared for future public health emergencies like this one. And US Senator Jeanne Shaheen from North Carolina announced others support her legislation, which is the Homeland Procurement Reform Act, which would require that the Department of Homeland Security, which is DHS, to increase the amount of personal protective equipment it procures from American companies. So we're talking about more manufacturing, more national, more American manufacturing of PPE, and more businesses and other entities throughout the country using PPE to make sure that individuals feel safe to get back to work. So this is a significant step in the right direction. Now let's go to a couple of segments that are personally very important for me because I have young children, and I'm sure a lot of my viewers and subscribers listening are also parents. Now, indicator number 6, federal money for states for education plus school safety. And this is what Stephen Mnuchin said.
And we're going to have big incentives, money to the states for education, for schools that can open safely and do education. So these are the priorities.
So he did say money to the states for education, for schools that can open safely and do education. Remember, when kids go back to school, parents can then go back to work. When parents go back to work and start resuming their jobs, that's when the economy starts to recover. That's when people get off of unemployment, become less dependent on stimulus checks, and that's where things start to become normal again. Having kids go back to school in a safe manner is going to be the backbone of the recovery, not just for our country, but globally. And finally, and you've heard this one before, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has been championing this all along, liability protection from frivolous lawsuits. Let's hear about what Stephen Mnuchin had to say about that.
As well as liability protection, we want to make sure that frivolous lawsuits don't prevent schools, universities, and businesses from reopening.
So he said, we want to make sure that frivolous lawsuits don't prevent schools, universities, and businesses from reopening. So that was it. Overall, 7 big indicators. Number 1, $1 trillion or more in stimulus. Number 2, a focus on kids and jobs and vaccines. Number 3, an extension of enhanced unemployment in a modified format. I don't believe that they want the $600 a week federal booster to continue. Number 4, a cap, a limit on enhanced unemployment plus a renewed focus on safety. Number 5, tax credits to go back to work plus additional safety measures, including tax credits for PPE. Number 6, federal money for states for education plus school safety. And number 7, liability protection for businesses from frivolous lawsuits. I hope you learned something new from this video. I appreciate you watching. If you did, please click the like button. Please let me know what you think about these 7 big indicators below. Do you agree? And let me know in the comment section, do you agree with what the US Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin is saying? A lot of the things he said will indeed bring the country back on track gradually. Safety is a huge factor. I believe that when we have a medical solution, when we have a vaccine, things will fall into place very quickly. Things will sort of snap into place like a jigsaw puzzle, because that's how the economy was at the start of the year. Until then, it is going to be a rather bumpy ride for most of us. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about these 7 indicators. Are there certain indicators that you agree with more than others? Are there certain indicators that you don't agree with at all? What are your thoughts on the focus of the administration? Because it's pretty clear what's going to happen. I think the framework of what's likely to happen is out there. It's pretty evident, it's pretty obvious, and I have broken it down for you, because what I've managed to do is I've taken that quick 2-minute soundbite, and what I've done for my subscribers is dissected it, analyzed it, and I have presented you the future, the architecture, the framework, the blueprint of the future stimulus and the future of unemployment benefits. Let me know if you agree with the 7 indicators. These are the words of Stephen Mnuchin. I analyzed it and dissected it for you, but let me know if you agree with the framework of what the administration is looking at in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I look forward to interacting with the community. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not a subscriber yet, please click the subscribe button below. Please enable notifications so you get instantly notified about future updates. I release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. One more thing. If you would like to get breaking news and alerts and updates from me, send a text message with the word ignition time. That's the word ignition time to 70,000. Again, send a text message with the word ignition time to 70,000. That's 70000, and you'll get on my list, and then I'll be able to send you important updates going forward. You can opt out at any time. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please subscribe if you're not a subscriber already. Please enable notifications so you get instant updates in the future. And please click like if you learned something new. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.